Hi, everyone. My name is Adeo Resi. I'm CEO of the Dessel Group, and I'm here today to talk with you about the upcoming VC Lab program, Cohort 17, and all the exciting things that we have planned. Um, Let me just give you a little bit of background about Dessel Group itself, and then I'll jump right into VC Lab. Okay. So Dessel Group was really set up to modernize venture capital and bring what was a really apprentice-based industry into the modern age, right? So if 90s and 2000s, you wanted to become a venture capitalist, you would go work in a venture capital firm, usually for 2 or 3 decades, but call it 2 decades. You might start out as an associate, go up to a principal, eventually become partner. And then when you were partner, right, and you did some good deals, maybe you got into a deal that was a 1000xer, an LP would take notice and they would say, hey, Sally or John or whomever, you did really great with that deal, Oracle. And so we're going to stake you and you can launch a new fund. And that's where the term anchor came from, because someone who is working in the field for 15, 20, 25, or 30 years had a pretty good track record. An LP took notice and they decided to stake them and become an anchor in their new fund. Those firms ran on email and spreadsheets. They were very old school. They were, largely concentrated in a few geographic areas, right? Because it was an apprentice-based learning model. And it was really a way of the past. And in fact, it doesn't even really exist anymore presently, but a lot of people still believe that the industry works that way. So if you go to Kaufman Fellows or if you study at Columbia, they're going to teach you uh, a way. It's like learning about the steam engine when we're already on the electric engine, right? So you're learning the old way of doing things that doesn't really exist anymore. So a lot of times people are going to come in and say, hey, um, I'm looking for an anchor. It's like, well, anchors don't really exist anymore in the modern world. I mean, they existed in the past, but they don't exist anymore. And maybe you spoke to a VC that raised their first fund 20, 25 years ago, and they're like, yeah, you totally need an anchor. Because, yeah, 20, 25 years ago, you probably did need an anchor. So we're building the modern venture capital stack, right? We're modernizing the whole industry. We're bringing it into the 21st century, and we're making it ethical and responsible, funding things that matter. So in order to do that, in order to modernize the industry, you need training to replace the old apprenticeship model. You need tools to replace email and spreadsheets and other kind of very antiquated things that most modern venture capitalists do still to this day. Uh, you know, if you're at Sequoia or Andreessen, now they're building out big software teams, but they're still primarily running the firms on email and spreadsheets. So we're providing modern tools and we're providing capital. We're providing access to capital. So we have a fund of funds to invest in new and emerging managers. In addition to the fund of funds, we also have matching platforms to help you find LPs to invest in. So that's what the Dessel Group is. Now, VC Lab is our premier training program. Okay. Everyone here is in it and it is free. Now, it's hard, okay? You are among the best. Just to get in VC Lab, I think right now we're about 2,400 applicants. By the time the program starts on next Thursday, um, we might even be as high as like 30 something, 3,000 something applicants, right? Because a lot of people come in this period. Many of you have partners that you haven't invited yet. That'll be maybe another 50 to 100. Then, everyone's like, oh, wait, it's starting in a few days. I got to get my application. And of course, they should have gotten it in earlier. and their odds of getting in are much lower because we're almost full. I think right now we're about 300 GPs in cohort 17. We kind of cap out at 325, 350. So we stop really accepting people around 325, and maybe a partner or so comes in. So we'll get up maybe around 350, but the hard cap is 350. So the program is basically almost full. Um, and so it was hard for you to get in. You are among the best in the world. You're definitely the top 10%. And where I'm going with this is you got to be really good, because running and building a venture capital firm and fund is very hard. Okay. I could tell you it's not hard, and I would be lying. It will be the hardest thing that you do, right? And many of you will fail. So just to give you a sense of the odds, of the 300 and something people that are in the program worldwide, um, which will represent roughly, call it 250 to 275 firms, right? Only about 50 or 60 firms will finish. Okay. And it's not like we're, so to give you just again, you have about a 20%, you got 10% of you got into the program, and roughly 20% of you, well, maybe if you're lucky, 25% will get to the end of the program and finish and launch a fund. Okay. Because it's very, very hard, right? So it's roughly the top 2 to 2.5% get to having a fund at the end of this process. And the reason it's so hard, okay, and I need everybody here to focus, is, and if you have questions, by the way, on anything, there's a Q&A button on the bottom. Just click it and add your questions in there. The reason it's so hard is that you really need a lot of hustle, a lot of track record, and a lot of luck, right? I wish I could tell you there was something else. Now, and all the knowledge and tools and everything else. So a lot of hustle, a lot of network, a lot of luck, on top of actually working your butt off and understanding how things work and doing things correctly, et cetera. So the program gives you the framework so that if you have the hustle, if you have the network, and if you're lucky, everyone who has those three things will succeed. Okay. We'll give you all the tools. But if you're coming into this program and thinking you could, maybe launch a fund working about 15 to 20 hours a week, it's just not possible today. If you're coming in this program and you're thinking, I don't really have that big of a network on LinkedIn, I don't know that many people, and you're not actively working to grow your network right now, you will also, unfortunately, fail. And I'd love you to succeed. It's not me. It's just what it takes. And then honestly, a bit of it's luck, right? And of course, I want to double click on luck, because that's kind of what we're here to talk with you a little bit about today. Um, for anyone who's done a business before or worked even at a fund before, you make your own luck, right? So if you know that the odds are a bit stacked against you, right, which they are in this situation, because only about 2.5% of everyone that applied for this program will actually get to launch a fund, and those there aren't the best odds, right? Uh, you know, and no matter how you slice it, uh, if you know that's the case, right? You want to do things to increase your chances of success, right? So if your chances of success are low, I'll give you an example. So of how this manifests in traditional venture, and it should apply to you. Okay. So Deals presents a great example of making your own luck. If you want to get into 1,000xer deal, it's possible you could make one investment and it would be 1,000xer. That does happen. Benchmark backed eBay and it was a huge win for them. And it was pretty much one of their first deals. It was truly lucky, and most other VCs turned it down, and they were the one that didn't turn it down. Now, with deals, there's a lot of ways to make your own luck. Number one, you can create a different mindset of thinking about investments so that you can see things that other people don't see. So you create a new mindset, a new framework of thinking about things, and that definitely helps you. But there's also a much more practical way to make your own luck. The best way to hit a home run is to take a lot of swings at bat, right? So if you just want to get a home run, you could, if you get one pitch, you've got one shot, and if you miss, you're out. But if you want to hit a home run, right, you could take lots of swings at bat and try, and eventually you're going to hit a home run, right? I mean, pretty much either you'll practice your way into it or you're just eventually going to hit one. So an easy way to make your own luck in deals is just open up as many doorways for deals to come to you so you can see the maximum amount of deals so that you can have the greatest odds of finding that 1000xer and investing in it. And you don't even need to necessarily invest in a lot of deals, but you'll need to see a lot of deals, because if you see a lot of deals, you'll eventually find one that sticks out, and that one is probably the 1000xer. So there are ways that you can make your own luck, okay, in venture capital. And we're going to give a lot of those ways to you in the program, and I'm going to give you one of those ways right now. So we offer for participants in the program a premium offering. This is not how we make money, by the way, and I'm going to go into that in a moment. This is because we understand that some people we want to help more, right? So the program will provide an enormous amount of help, right? And many of you will succeed, but we have a premium offering that will really go to the next level with you and help you overcome your thesis, which is very, very hard to do. It will take most of you months to get your thesis right, and you could have that time. We will help you with your pitch deck. Again, this will take you months to do, and we will work with you and have that time. We will help you with your model, another thing that will take probably weeks for you, and we will again have that time. So what we've done is we said, look, I'll get the top deck person, the top model person, the top banking person, the top blank, and we'll do one-on-one help with you to accelerate the time and increase the quality of your work. And we just can't do that for 350 people. We can do it for maybe 20, right, in a program. And so how do we distinguish which 20 we do this for? Well, you pay. That's simple. This doesn't make us really any money. This is not how we make money. Again, I'll cover that in a second. So just so you know, we used to have two packages, a low package and a high package, and it was too complicated. So there's one package this time in cohort 17. This is an innovation. You guys are happy to discuss it more with you in a moment. It costs $2,500 for the duration of the program. I would recommend that everybody apply for it. I believe Dominica can put a link in the chat for you to learn more about it, but you could reply to any email saying you're interested. There's also a link for some information, and I just strongly recommend that everyone at least consider it, because it's going to be a big positive forcing function for you to succeed in doing something very difficult. And it will help you to make your own luck. Because if you struggle getting your thesis done, which almost everybody here will, okay? And I'd love to hear even some of your theses in the Q&A. And I'll give you feedback, and you'll get feedback from me, right? But you might get feedback from me in the program once, maybe twice. But if you're in the premium thing, you'll get feedback from me and others every week, multiple times a week, right? And that will consolidate your ability to get feedback faster and get to the finish line faster with a higher quality product. So just quickly on what our business model is, why the program free, et cetera. So again, the $2,500 that you would pay us, it used to be more, by the way, it used to be 5,000. So we said, we're going to try something different this time. So it's 2,500 this time. If you don't sign up in the first couple weeks of the program, it actually does go back to 5,000. So you're getting half off right now. So let's talk about how we make money. So we just raised a fairly large round of financing. Things are going very well in the business. Actually, right before we raised the financing round, we were basically break even as a company with roughly 30 something people. Now we're roughly 40 something people. And how we make money is we have a very comprehensive and industry leading back office provider, and that means that we run your accounting, we run your legal, all that stuff, and we have a competitive price on that. So it's about half the cost of most other things, and a lot less than the top tier stuff. And that business line right now is very lucrative for us. We have a 94 MPS. We have a late waiting list for people to work with us, and that's doing great. The product is free, by the way, though we will start charging for that at some point. But right now, the product's free, the program's free, and we make money running the operations of a few hundred firms around the world. Okay. Now, we have other ways we plan to make money in the future. Right now, we're matching very successfully limited partners with general partners, and that is also free. So you will have limited partners come to you and say, I want to invest. If you are among the best people in the program and you launch your firm and fund, so you have to close, you'll be invited to join the LP marketplace, as it's called. And we have a few hundred LPs that are interested in investing in emerging managers, and they'll say, hey, I like you as a manager and I want to meet you, and they'll come to you and you'll be able to close them. As I said, right now that's free, but we will be charging for that in the near future, and we believe that will also be a very big business line. And so eventually, our goal is to go public and bring a modern, what we call Venture 2.0 market to retail investors through an IPO process. Because we see that venture capital is the fuel for innovation in the world. I'm on the border of the Stanford campus right now. There's a Stanford professor who's of venture capital in the Graduate School of Business, and he's put out a lot of research. Maybe Domenica, can you put some links to Ilya's research in the chat? He has a whole site, the GSB Stanford venture stuff. And basically, he's determined through lots and lots of work and research that the success of the American economy from early 1970s onward is causally from the success of venture capital. And so in the 1970s, the US economy broke away from the rest of the world. It grew faster and then other developed nations, which, and when you look at what happened in that time period that was different in America from anywhere else, it was really the rise of venture capital that had started here in the 60s. So back to the point, venture capital can be a force for good in the world if the practitioners of the model are ethical and want to fund things that matter. And so at the end of the day, that is why we're doing what we do. And then we're going to rebuild this industry into something that we can all be proud of It was fully transparent, run ethically, operated with the highest standards of quality, and we're going to bring this new venture capital asset class to retail investors so that they can participate in the enormous amounts of wealth created. And I want to double click on that for 1 second. Our managers are the best managers in the world today. Full stop. Okay. So we've launching over half of all new managers and a big chunk of emerging managers we launch every year. Okay. And so you could say, hey, maybe our managers are the same as all other managers, right? So we have a top decile manager, and there are other top decile managers, and we have a bottom decile manager, other bottom decile managers. We could produce managers that are worse, or we could produce managers that are better. I believe, and there's good evidence to this effect, that our managers are on the upper end of the spectrum. We have a fund of funds. Our fund of funds is just over a year old. We call something a cap adjusted, which is basically like a unrealized TVPI. Our unrealized TVPI equivalent is over 2x, okay, for a fund of funds. And who are we investing in? Mainly you, right? So we have a fund of funds, which is a vehicle renowned to have what's called a J curve, which is because all of the funds have J curves where your returns go down before they go up, right? Because you take management fees before you realize any gains, right? Not only do we not have a J curve, but we have a 2 something X TVPI equivalent, right? Which is just unheard of in the world of fund of funds. But that's just an example that the type of funds that we're producing are way better than the funds you see on the market, because we're going to give you a lot of cheat codes and hacks and things to do that are the way to do it right. And all of the conventional wisdom, like what I opened with the anchor, is wrong. Okay. So if you go out there and you're like, no, Adea, you're wrong. I'm going to go do what everyone else says to do. Like, I'm going to go search for an anchor investor. Now I'm going to go do this and that, right? Good luck to you, right? I'm not here to say our way is the right way, but it's definitely very efficient. And I want to give you a sense of scale. So we've launched over with the conclusion of cohort 16, and you're coming in as cohort 17, we're probably around 700 firms, maybe even a little more. So we've launched 700 firms worldwide. And by launch, these are firms that have closed. Okay, so it's not like, oh, I've launched a firm and I don't have any money. 700 firms have launched and closed on capital. Okay, now that's an enormous number, guys. Okay. There are ranges of what you hear of how many firms are operating. So between 4 and 8,000. Okay. So I interviewed a guy yesterday and he built a database of every VC firm he could find that has any kind of website or anything like that. Okay. He said there's about 8,000, but he also mentioned that when he did some data enrichment on it, about 20% of them were dead. And that sort of aligns with what. So I would say you hear ranges from 4 to 8,000 firms operating worldwide. No one really knows, right? So let's say he found 8,000 and 20% are basically dead, which is sort of what I would, what I believe to be true from what I'm hearing and seeing in the market. So that means let's call it like 5 to 6,000 firms are in the world today, and we've launched 700. Okay, so just to give you a sense of scale, but keep in mind that every year only about 4 to 600 firms are launched, and 600 would really be a lot, and we're doing around 300. Okay. So I think last year was a bit down. So it might have been, the numbers you look at here are also very bad because everything's really, no one really knows. But I would say we have a pretty good sense, right? So the numbers were a little bit down on the overall, but we're keep growing. So we're becoming more than half of the market. So again, when I tell you something that, hey, like anchor investors really aren't a thing anymore, let me back that up with some data for a moment, and so you can understand where some of my statements come from. Of the 700-ish firms that we've launched worldwide, right? And the reason I can't give you a precise number at the moment is because cohort 16 is not done. So maybe some people don't make it to the end. You have to close a fund to finish the program. Okay. So 700-ish funds that have been launched, not even 5 have an anchor investor. Okay, we're talking 1, 2, or 3. It's probably like 2 or 3 from what I can, okay, out of 700. So anchors still happen, right? It's not zero, but it's like so small that if I were like, I couldn't in good conscience tell you, hey guys, go after an anchor investor, because your chances would be like 1 in 300, right? Which is really terrible odds, right? So we're going to tell you things that work to get your fund off the ground. And then if you're lucky enough to get into the premium program, we're going to help you with actual hands-on advice. So let me talk just 1 second about what the premium program will do, and we'll turn it over to questions. If you have questions, there's a Q&A button on the bottom of your screen that's like a chat bubble with a question mark in it. Put your questions in there. It's very difficult for us to monitor the chat. Okay, so back to what the premium program has. So what you'll obviously pay, it's $2,500 now. It will go to $5,000 after the program starts. So you have a couple weeks to decide, but I would do it sooner rather than later. You're going to get a private Slack channel with a team member named Johan. And Johan is our, like, it's basic. He's like he runs a program to help you get LP commitments, right? That's the goal. It's almost like a LP commitment accelerator. But how do you get LP commitments? Well, you need to have a good thesis. You need to have a good deck. You need to have good materials and data room, all that stuff. So, and of course, then you need to be pitching LPs and getting feedback from them and updating everything. And Johan is going to be there with you every single week. So you're going to have the private Slack channel where you can ask questions 24/7. You might get an answer when Johan wakes up. Johan will also bring in experts as you need. So if you need help with a deck, he'll bring in one of our deck experts. We have the guy who wrote the main template for every single deck, Taylor, and that every single model, the main template for every single model that most VCs use, Taylor Davidson. And if you need help with your model, probably be using the Taylor model, and Taylor will be there to help you, right? So Johan will bring in experts, and you'll have one-on-one meetings with Johan every week, as well as if an expert's needed and Johan can get him into the meeting, you'll have an expert in that meeting to help you with the thing that you need help with. And let me tell you something, guys, you're gonna need help. The program provides help, but we'll do, for example, right when this is over, I have office hours, okay? I can show them to you. There are 10 firms in those half-hour office hours. So you're not going to get one-on-one. Now I'm going to go through all of them because I'm going to review their work with them. And so I'm going to talk at them, but there's going to be common lessons to have. So you'll get office hours, you'll get individualized attention in the program, but they'll be in a group format. Whereas if you go in the premium side, it will be one-on-one. So again, it's really good. So just to recap, you'll have a private Slack group, private office hours, and expert access. And what, again, this will help you do is refine your thesis, build a world-class deck, work on an amazing model, make a great data room, and help you to understand what's going well with your LP pitching and what is going badly with your LP pitching, and coach you through closing LPs, because really the end goal of this is that you close more LPs faster. Now, I want to make one final point on that, which is very, very important for everyone here. And then questions. So whether you're in this program, the premium program or not, okay, you must close LPs quickly, okay? We have reams of data. I have a top PhD data scientist on the team. We have reams of data, every cohort since the beginning. Those who fundraise faster succeed. Those who fundraise slower fail. Okay? And it's not just fundraising faster. You have to have a growth curve. It's geometric, not exponential. Exponential is better. But if you take 100 grand one week, and then 200 grand the next week, and then 300 grand the next week, that manager that's able to close increasing amounts of money will do far better and will succeed raising their fund, whereas other managers that are kind of just plodding along at the same amount every week will not succeed raising their fund, because it's all about critical mass and momentum, right? And if you don't get enough momentum, you can't get to the critical mass to close, because it's a leaky sieve. You add 100,000 at the top, but you have to wait to close, so 100,000 falls off the bottom. So then you take another couple weeks to add 250,000 at the top, and maybe 250,000 falls off the bottom. So it's momentum and critical mass is what's important to fundraise. And so whatever you do, whether you in this premium program or not, you must hustle on fundraising. And so we're going to put a lot of pressure on you in the program to start talking to LPs very soon. And that's why we gave you all access to Decile Hub, and we've given you all and pushed you to use it to refine your thesis and start pitching LPs. And just on that point, you don't need anything besides a thesis and a target LP to close on money. You don't need a deck. You don't need an entity. You don't need models, nothing. Most of our managers will close millions of dollars in their first close with just a thesis and themselves. That's it. Okay. If someone wants to see a deck, it's not a good sign. It's probably a no, right? Because whatever you're saying doesn't resonate with them. So if they're like, can I see a deck? It's like you've already failed. So the people that succeed in fundraising raise with a thesis and themselves. Now, you'll eventually need a deck, and you'll eventually need a data room, and you'll eventually need a model. But in the beginning, you're going to pitch people you know, and that's the only people you should be pitching, by the way. We'll cover this in the program. And when you pitch people you know, it's you and the thesis. Even when you pitch people you don't know that well, it's still going to be you and the thesis. But one there, you're going to need a deck and other things with some of them. So you need to have them ready. But in the beginning, you and your thesis is all that you need. Now, all right, let me go over to the questions. Hopefully this was helpful for everyone. Let me order them by most upvotes. So you'll see in the question list, there's about 10 questions. Domenica, if you could filter out the ones that aren't that great. There's a little thumbs up thing. Um, I'm getting over a pretty bad cold. So anyway, if you want your question or you see a question you like, before you write a new question, thumb up a question that you think is good. Will you support us choosing the best fun thesis? The answer is yes, but really, a thesis is where you and your experience, the market, and the interest of the limited partner, there's a triangle, combine. So I have a great background in AI. I'm starting an AI SaaS fund. And oh, here's a LP that's really interested in AI and SaaS. So we can help you sort of figure out what's right for you. But at the end of the day, your thesis is your thesis, right? So we'll help you get it in a format that is easy for LPs to understand. But it's very hard, guys. It's going to take you months, and we'll give you feedback, but it's a lot harder than you think. Um, if I've already done my thesis, can we fast track? Michael, how about this? Put your thesis in the one sentence format. Can you put the one sentence format into the chat? Um, Domenica, so everyone can see it. Michael, Yin, put your thesis in the format into the chat, or put it just put it into the chat, and I'll tell you if your thesis is done. I can promise that everybody here will say my thesis is done. You know how you know if your thesis is done? Very simple. When you tell 5 people your thesis and you get 1 commitment, then your thesis is done. Until you're getting 1 commitment per 5 pitches, your thesis is not done. Okay? It's that simple. But I've seen many thousands of theses. So Michael, if you want to put your thesis in the chat, I'll be happy to look at it. But I promise you, it's probably not done. What if you're in a region where getting fund of funds is difficult? Um, first of all, there aren't any fund of funds that invest in new managers. We have one, so that's one. And then I've heard of maybe one other or 2 others that sort of do it. So you're not going to get fund of funds in any region, right? So you're going to have to go after LPs, and we're going to tell you how to do that. Your fund of funds are institutional LPs. No one here is going to get an institutional LP as a first close. Again, out of the 700 funds that we've launched, or firms and funds that we've launched worldwide, I would say also less than 5 have gotten institutional LPs in their first close. So it's a giant waste of your time. Is the new premium program, or is it available for a while? Yeah, so the premium program's been around forever, but we've had it's actually it costed 10,000 in the beginning. And then last time around we did $1,000 and a $5,000 version that was too complicated. So what we decided this time around is we're kind of split the difference and make it one program, and it's 2,500 now, and it will go to 5,000 if you don't sign up in the next few weeks. And our very best managers have all been in the premium program. So like Ihar of Geek Ventures, he shot for a $10 million fund. I think he closed on 23 million. So he 2.3x'd his fund size. David Alvo, also oversubscribed. He's our single highest grossing fund. I think he's at like a 3x actual TVPI. So, our very, very best fund managers have all been through the premium program, every one of them. Now, not every one of the people that have been through the premium program are the best managers in the world, for sure. But I would say we don't have that many, right? Because we only let in like a couple handful per cohort, right? Because we just don't have the resources to do 300 people. We don't even have the resources to do like more than 20. So that we'll let in like 10 or so. So with 17 cohorts, we didn't do it in the first few, so call it more like 12 cohorts that we had it. So yeah, I would say our best 50 firms of the whole, many of which we've invested in, have been through it. So it's a quality filter by a lot. I do not have a large network. Would it be wiser to build a large network before investing the 2,500? I mean, you don't need that large of a network, but you need people who have money in your network, because that's how you're going to find your initial investors, people that you know, or people that you know who know other people. So first or second degree connections. So, you know, here's what I would say. The program is really to help you with all the nitty gritty stuff. It's a closing accelerator. You can look at it like that, right? Within a closing accelerator. So it's a closing accelerator within a closing accelerator. The main accelerator, VC Lab, will help you with all the things you need to do to close your fund. But as I brought up in the beginning, you're going to need hustle. You're going to need a bit of luck, etc. Right? This reduces, it increases your luck, gives you a little bit better odds. But if you're not sure that you have a good network, it probably wouldn't be worth investing the $2,500, because you're already in the bucket of more likely to fail. Because keep in mind that only 20% of the 300 something people that come in will make it to the end and be able to launch a fund. And when it's not that I would love everyone to do it. I want 100%, right? But if you're not getting commitments, if I were to say the biggest failure points of why, so it's, if you remember again, it's network, hustle, and luck. I would say the biggest failure point that most of the 80%, they may not have a big enough network, right? And they're not, or they're not hustling enough. So if you have a smaller network, you have to have higher hustle. If you have a bigger network, you can have less hustle and get to the same place, right? So if you have a smaller network and you really maybe don't have full time to really, and when I say full time, I mean much more than 40 hours a week, then it might be not worth it for you. Shashu, hopefully I pronounced your name right. Okay. Fabio's asking, does the paid program is more about the mentorship, or is there also access to LPs from your end? Um, it's 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 more about the mentorship. Obviously, everyone in the paid program, we're going to know much more about how you're doing than we know. I mean, we study all the stuff that you do. We watch everything, right? So, but if you're in the paid program, there's a team of people that discuss you every single week, right? And your progress, how's it going? What's going well? What's not going well? So if you're an outlier, which most of the people in the paid program are anyway, um, and you're doing really well, then you're going to be at the top of the list to go into the premium matching, the free matching. It's not premium matching, but you being in the premium program will mean that we know more about how you're doing, so you're more likely to get into the LP matching, if that makes sense. But we do study everybody in the program pretty in detail, and so it's possible you could get in not being in the premium, but it's just more likely because we'll know much more about what's going on. Regarding closing LPs quickly, uh, okay, so guys, it's gonna take, this question's like, how long does it take from closing LPs to closing the fund? So closing a fund, we're about to announce a very innovative product to this effect, but it's not public right now. It's in private beta, um, and it should reduce the time. But the actual just elapsed time to close a fund is months. 3 months. The average time right now is 3 months. So if you said, I have all these packs and I'm ready to go right now, let's start forming right this minute. On average, it will take you about 3 months. Now, some people can get it done in a month, and some people it takes 6 months. Closing is hard. There's banking, legal, it takes a lot of time. So if you had everything ready to go, it would take a few months. So going back, I would say that if you get a pack now and that person probably won't sign an LPA for anywhere from 4 to 6 months from today. And 4 months means you're really fast, right? So that means that over the next 3 months, you get all the commitments you need to do a first close. And then you go into some sort of accelerated formation program, which we offer, right? That we'll talk about that later in the program. And then you go into that program and you close at the faster end in a month, right? So you're not at the average of 3 months, but you're at the fast level of a month. And then someone could sign a pack today and then sign an LPA and wire money in about 4 months from now, right? And that's the theoretical fastest that we've ever seen, right? For most of you, it will take 5 or 6 months from today, where if you took a pack today, it will be 5 or 6 months until you can close on it with an LPA, et cetera. I didn't say I have a big initial pack and I don't want to lose by delaying. So your fastest that you could probably do, Michael, is 4 months from today, right? And I'm happy to go into more detail about that with you. All right, so Sarah's asking for a thesis. Unleashed Ventures is launching a $3 million pre-seed venture fund in Dubai to back EMEA AI fintech startups, leveraging our expertise in greenfield banking projects and strategy, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's all verbal diarrhea, so that's bad. With a track record advising over 500 startups that collectively raised 2.5 billion, including 3 unicorns. So I would give this thesis 1. So there's a lot of good things out of 5. So there are a lot of good things about it, and it's probably very easy to fix. So your first things is everyone's thesis should be about 37 to 40 words. If it's not 37 to 40 words, you failed. You don't want any adjectives, you don't want any superlatives. If you make a statement, you have to back it up with numbers. So what I would say to back AI fintech startups, leveraging the partners' track record, advising 500 startups that raised 2.5 billion, including 3 unicorns. Okay. um that would be probably a 4, possibly a 5. So let me just look. um AI, so the thing that's a little not great about that is I'm not really sure what AI fintech is. I can make some educated guesses, but so I'd say it's not that bad though. And I like the other problem I see with it is unless all 500 of those startups were AI and fintech, then your track record doesn't count. And if the 3 unicorns aren't AI and fintech, you can't put them in there. The only track record that you can cite in a thesis is the track record that's directly related to the stage and the industries that you're talking about. So if you helped Apple and you're doing climate, no one cares. The things you talk about track record wise must directly relate to your thesis. So the way it was written and worded is a 1. You can wordsmith it. It sounds like you probably need to break some data out because I don't even think there are 500 AI fintech companies in anyone's portfolio today. So I'm guessing that there's a lesser number. Okay, how much of the target network of LPs is considered a good network for a fund of 5 million. Um, I don't know what you're asking there exactly. You have to build your own network of LPs. You should not count. You're not gonna get LPs from us, okay? In fact, in fact, if anyone says they're gonna give you LPs, they're a liar and you should immediately stop engaging with them, okay? They're probably going to scam you. And there are a lot of people out there today, like Cool Water, like a ton, Raise Global, blah, 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 that are like, come to this thing and there are tons of LPs, okay? That's not true. In fact, I know many, many firms that have paid tens of thousands of dollars to go through Cool Water, and do not know a single one of them, not one, and I've spoken with other people who know others, and no one I know, and no one that I know that has gone through it, knows anyone that's raised any money from that program. And yet they're like, you're going to meet lots of LPs. So let me be very clear. We are matching GPs and LPs. Okay, we are doing it, but I'm not going to tell you we're going to do it for you. I don't know you. I don't know your fund. So if you do a first close and you have good momentum, I can put you in the LP matching program and you will get LPs. 60% of the managers we feature right now, and we're trying to work that up, get commitments that lead to sizable investments in their firm. But you have to get to a first close on your own. That means that you will need to find the investors that invest in your fund, and they're only going to be people that you know or people that you know who know someone and they refer it. That's your first close. That's 98 to 99% of all firms that we've helped. That was their first closes as well. So that's going to be your first close, most likely. And so you're going to have to mine your own network. And we have tools in Decil Hub to make that very easy for you. Okay. But you're going to have to do it. So 100% of your first close is going to come from your network. And if anyone else tells you differently, they are lying to you. And the LP matching program that I told you about, that is for people that have completed their own first close. And then we put you into the matching program and you can meet LPs. And we're the only program that I know of that is successfully delivering LPs to GPs at some scale. Now, we haven't scaled it out where it's hundreds of GPs, but it's dozens of GPs. Okay. Love to get insights on our thesis. I can't give you thesis, Pete, unless you follow the format, right? So we've written a one sentence thesis format for a very specific reason. It tells the LP everything that they need to know. It tells them where you are, where you're investing, the amount, the size of the fund, the amount of money in the fund, target amount. It tells what sector you're going after, what stage you're going after, and why you are uniquely suited to do that. If I don't have that information in a succinct format, I can't evaluate your thesis. And the reason we have that format is you can get all that information in very succinctly. Larissa's saying, clarifying, I'm meaning our own network. We've done the exercise of names, probably an amount of money, but we still unsure of enough for 5 million. Should we try raising less? So this is a good question. And that is very smart of you to do this. I need to know your thesis, where you are, what you're going after, etc., to tell you if you should raise less. In the modern world today, the smallest possible fund size you can have is 2.5 million. The reason for that is very simple. And I have to go in 1 minute. And then, Michael, I see your thesis, so I'll do that last. There are fees to run the fund, and the fees get too large. So it's not, they become more than 10% of the fund size. So at 2.5 million, your fees are going to be more than 10% of the fund size. And if you start going down, your fees are going to be like 20% of the fund size. So now imagine you're taking 20% of all dollars invested for management fees, 2% per year for 10 years. Now you're taking another 20% for just running the fund costs. So you're only investing 60 cents on the dollar of LP money. It's just not viable, right? So 2.5 million's the floor. Now, Tricom Climate Ventures launching a 30 million angel pre-seed and seed venture fund in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia to back ASEAN. Okay, that's Michael, that's not going to work. You're never going to launch a $30 million fund in Malaysia. Okay. We've launched dozens of funds in Malaysia. We've had the head sovereign wealth fund of Malaysia and our LP Institute program changing LPs. So that's wrong. You can't do angel pre-seed and seed. Too many stages. It's too broad for any investors, right? US and Asian, so this is not a viable thesis. You won't be able to raise even $1 million of this thesis. So again, 1 out of 1 to 5. You have to pick a stage, a single stage. You have to pick a geography. You have to pick a reasonable fund size for where you're located in the world and what you can actually raise in a fund one. And none of that's there. Plus, you don't have a clear value add, right? Because it's like ESG finance, and you need to say how you've made LPs money in the past or what you can do to make LPs money in the future. So you're going to need quite a bit of work on that. But that's why we're here to help, right? We'll take you through these things and make it better. Okay, everyone, I do need to jump. I know there's a ton of other questions that came in. Hopefully, we can some of you will decide to participate in the premium program. If not, that's okay too. As I said, it's not really a money maker for us at all. It's mainly a way to segment who we want to spend the extra hours with each week from the 300 and some odd other people in the program. We just can't do it with everyone. So thank you so much and have a lovely morning, afternoon, and evening, depending on where you are. Have a good one, guys. Can't wait to start the program next week. Bye, guys.